You guys asked for it, so here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Interlinked, the official podcast of the greatest crypto gaming community on planet Earth, the Illuminati, Neo motherfucking Tokyo.
Huge shout out to our sponsor, Playable Games. They are inspired by gamers and funded by their community. They have a epic game on the Epic Games Store, a third-person shooter called Nexus. Hop on in there and check that out. They're also currently selling nodes, so if you're interested, check that out at their website, playable.games. That is a 3 instead of a B on Playable. Now strap in for the rest of this episode of Interlink.
Here alongside of me today, we have the leader of legal. We have the bravest of Bradleys, Mr. Jared Hogsheadcheese. Blah, blah, blah. What's up, dude?
What's happening, Ben and Nick?
And of course, we also have the greatest co-host of all time, the Dragon Ball Z annual back-to-back World Universe Tournament representation, the King of Judo, Mr. Cryptoetheus.
I'll claim the king of a virtual environment in my Super Saiyan form. I will not claim the king of judo. I would be like a small pauper in judo or like a subsistence potato farmer. That would be my current video game rank.
Well, I've been running some paid propaganda ads targeting all judo people and challenging them on your behalf. So hopefully what you're saying is not true.
Good
I
thing I'm
bet the
hiding on an
pay-per-click on
island.
that is cheap. That's what I would say.
Yeah. It's excellent. It's excellent. But guys, what's going on? There's a lot of crazy shit happening in the world.
Fuck yes.
There's the Elon versus Trump absolute smackdown in a very public environment on X and in the greater world. It's just those two and all of their closest friends. And it feels a little bit like there's a bit of a division in the previously united front. I think that's probably the thing people want to hear most about. What is your guys' take on that?
I think it was a very good morning in Moscow and Beijing. And I can just assume that Putin had the entire Moscow ballerinas flown to his giant estate for nonstop partying. Xi Jinping was pulling, the delicacies for an all-out feast the entire day for how exciting this would be for our adversaries to watch debatably one of the most powerful men in the world duke it out with the president of the United States, essentially at one point being told to essentially leave the country, revoking of billion-dollar contracts, the potential threat to strand astronauts at the International Space Station. So imagine reading that on Twitter. Shout out to whoever's idea I stole that from on Twitter. And essentially, Musk called him a pedophile. So it doesn't get much more like crossing the Rubicon in a sense of division. I mean, it was unbelievable. It was thoroughly entertaining when we were at dinner last night, refreshing X.
Jared, what do you think?
I think it's, probably one of the most enjoyable things I've seen on Twitter in a long time because this is just absolute kindergarten chaos and I love it. I think it is hilarious. The big, beautiful bill, all the issues. And the funniest thing was to me, Elon, quoting all the different tweets and do you call them truth socials, whatever that is? I don't know, whatever those are called.
I believe
Truth
they're
social
called truth.
posts. All right, the truths. So I had the truths and all the tweets. Are they still called tweets? But anyway, of all the things over the years that Trump had put about balancing the budget and reducing the deficit and all those cool things, and then to be the sort of the paternal figure of the big beautiful bill, which everyone agrees is not in the direction of reducing a deficit and balancing a budget. I thought that was just beautiful. And then just Elon posting that pictures of Trump and Epstein. I mean, it really went down to kindergarten level really quickly.
Are we at all worried that two of the leaders of the free world are completely duking it out in public, and that there was this, I think there was this perspective of, okay, we now have like the dream team together to come and fix America. We're doing that, blah, blah, blah. At least I think that was the narrative that was being portrayed. And now it's like, uh-oh, now there's this huge division. And I mean, I think there was one part where Elon was like, we need a third party. You know what I mean? Like, it almost kind of brings us back to one of the Roosevelt's, like, I think he created the Bull Moose Party or something like that when whoever his predecessor, somebody he was supporting, didn't do what he thought, and so he just kind of ripped it. What ended up happening was their side, both of their sides lost, and the other side immediately won again. So like from just these are supposed to be like leaders and role models for the free world and for like a lot of people. Is that concerning? Do we think what are the ramifications going to be?
That's a great question. I mean, I think what like 100. I'm sure the number is it obviously changes a lot, but over $100 billion was liquidated due to, again, Nick's famous saying, "What if there's uncertainty? What happens?" And this is, to me, I mean, you have the two most powerful people on Earth on Twitter fighting like kindergartners. I mean, I don't know how much more uncertain you could get than that. Threatening to leave people in space, canceling all the different contracts. I mean, yeah, this is like, this needs to be taken offline. Both of them need to realize, hey, maybe there's a greater good here that we both can work toward. Certainly, Trump's brand and Elon's brand by doing this are hurt, both of them, in my opinion. It's like, Elon called him out a few times. That's probably good, to get it off his chest. He's probably had some issues, but like, take it offline and work it out like adults. That's my suggestion.
Yeah, it's definitely not good. I mean, from a negotiation standpoint perspective, like the last thing you want to look like is maybe this is just like full blown crazy negotiating, but if you're going to try and negotiate essentially with the entire developed world simultaneously over trade deals, while the current record for trade deals done in an administration is five, and you're going to do that in a setting where you now have your own court system turning your tariffs on and off overnight, and now you've got what was like one of your most powerful allies in the space calling you a pedophile on his platform while making tons of money from your argument. Like, it's not a good look for the administration. I think I saw this on Twitter that was a good point. A lot of the crypto and tech vote is the swing vote, and we're up to call a spade for sale. And we just want our bags to go up and for our tech to be able to be developed and to make money essentially. And so maybe there's some good values sprinkled in there, but it depends on who you ask. So yeah, I definitely think this was an absolute shit show. It was a huge self error in a week where you had a phone call with Putin and Xi Jinping in the same week, and then the headline comes out today that Besson and a bunch of the other administration members are meeting the Chinese delegates in London. So those would have been huge bullish catalysts that you could have just let breathe and kind of get some room off your back and some leverage on some of the smaller actors in negotiation. And now this is the only thing being talked about.
Are we concerned also about maybe for the next three and however many years are left of the term that big business is going to be hesitant to build in America on American infra, both legal, technology, physical ground, etc. Like if I'm a big CEO and I am about to build a $500 million or a $10 million data center, am I more or less excited about doing that or willing to do that with all the uncertainty? Like, I think there are a lot of knock-on effects too. Are you guys thinking about that? I would love to get thoughts on all this stuff.
Yeah, there's two things I would say. One, you've got the Supreme Court, which is allowing Doge, which doesn't exist anymore, but this is, Friday, to access the Social Security systems with data on, sort of every American. Another thing I would say
Wait,
is,
sorry. Doge now has the access?
yes, but Doge, I don't know if it exists anymore, but the Supreme Court ruled on that, paving the way. They don't have access yet, but they pave the way to have access. There'll be like, parameters that have to be around there, but at this point, legally, they have a right to access it. That's clear.
Wow.
And that's a new ruling. The second thing I'll say is, I don't know if you guys saw this, but World Liberty Financial, which I don't know exactly who owns that, certainly by some people in the Trump family, sent a cease and desist order to Fight, 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 which is another entity run by Bill Zanker, who brought Trump sort of into that and I think was planning a Trump wallet with Magic Eden. All of those socials were pulled away. All of the alert that was coming out. I don't know what the Trump wallet was even about. So, and I don't know who, other than Bill Zanker, who owns Fight, 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 but it seems like two arms of the Trump army are battling it out. So, to answer your question, it's like the most powerful person in the United States, Trump, is now fighting with Elon publicly, and then his entities are going at it while all these other things are going on. It's like, maybe we wait for the next 3 years to see what pops out. Maybe we just don't do a lot of capex expenditures here in the United States. I don't know. To me, that would be, if I was putting, lots of zeros behind numbers into infrastructure in this country, it's like maybe I would wait. But at the same time, you would think, well, wow, America's supposed to be this stable, republic with, all the different things said. And then you've got, a couple political parties. But if one's in and one isn't, it's like a vastly different country. To me, that's scary. Again, Nick, uncertainty.
And I think this comes at possibly, maybe one of the most critical moments in American history where it's like, we need to rebuild infrastructure. They're literally rolling fucking brownouts in the South where I live. And it's like, all right, guys, maybe we get our shit together and figure this out. And then AI. And then like we need to be like plowing forward. And then crypto, we need to be still figuring it out because it seems like we're on a bullish trajectory, but it's super early days. And then robotics, machinery, and space. It's like if we fuck all this up right now, like it's GG. We're probably not going to be able to make that back up. You know what I mean? Like it would be like, yeah, I mean, you guys get it. So, but Nick, what do you think?
Yeah, to drive your point home, I think I heard the statistic earlier that we add gigawatts of power to our grid and China adds terawatts. And so every 18 months, China is adding the entire United States grid to their existing supply. So they're growing so unbelievably fast. I mean, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but it's just self errors. Like we have the opportunity. A lot of this is squandered away in bureaucracy and people's pockets getting lined. And not that that doesn't happen in China and Russia. Of course it does. But it seems in China that they've got it figured out while, the inside people are making money. So, yeah, it's definitely not exciting to see. I was like joking with my family, like pretty much my high watermark of the Trump administration was the day they got elected, and then since then it's been pretty much downhill. So I mean, it's 6 months in, so we'll see if they can recover, but I don't see how this benefits. One last thing on the Elon Musk Trump thing from my perspective is I just saw this on X is was this just the most clever judo throw for him to be able to release the Epstein list? He's not on it, but the only way that he can clear his name is to fully release the unredacted Epstein list. Could be a crazy judo move for Elon taking advantage of chaos and a lot of eyeballs. Or our president was on Epstein Island, and we have to come to terms with that. Now, he wouldn't have been the first, but that's not really a great argument for any sort of like honor of a leader. So, yeah,
Yeah,
not good.
definitely. Definitely agree. On the energy thing, I think those of you who are also steeped in the all-in pod, which definitely, you know, pod shout out going on right now. Don't be afraid to shout us back out all in. We would love that too. Maybe
They're
we should have a
afraid. We're nipping at their heels, dude.
yeah, exactly. But I think one of them said, or maybe they collectively agreed that the US has roughly 1 terawatt or whatever the unit is of power moving to 2 by 2030 or 2035. And in the same time, China currently has 3 moving to 8. So if that's true, um, sad, very sad for us. But again, if true. So I guess my comment on that is sad if true, with a comma in between that. So maybe we hope. And then I'm also sitting here like, I thought Bitcoin was supposed to be this massive incentive to build out more power. Like, why is crypto not linking arms with energy and being like, listen, guys, we can help you solve your monetization problem? Because, like, I was talking to a gentleman who works on wind turbines. There's some interesting stuff going on with it, right? Like, turns out, like, for turbines specifically, I know we're going off on a tangent, but I thought it was interesting. So if you
Send
guys
it.
will humor me, turns out wind turbines are useful because, at least onshore, because they scrub the grid. And so what what was explained to me, and hopefully I'm not just a complete moron and didn't understand this, was the way energy flows is in a sine wave. That's just how the molecules flow through, the transportation mechanism. And so if you have a grid or infrastructure that is less developed or old or needs to be replaced, you have the sine wave, as your normal thing, but like you have these spikes, you have these peaks and troughs. And those spikes happen because either, there's like either the equipment's faulty or there's like, everybody logs on a TV show at one time, like, a spike, but it happens on a smaller scale too. And what that does is if it's not uniform, it erodes the system faster and it reduces the speed at which it can flow. Um, so again, I'm bastardizing it because I don't exactly know what I'm talking about, but just at a high level. So you want it to flow in a more uniform pattern. Well, the turbines can auto adjust to where whenever it goes a little too low, they can accelerate and add more power, and whenever it's too high, they can decelerate and bring that total amount of power generated back down. So they scrub it and make it an even flow. So they put those around things like nuclear power as like, if you know if it needs more or less, it's like a backup. And then also, if things are ever about to blow up or there's a power surge, these turbines will blow first. So
Hmm.
like, so all that to say, like, there's all this stuff that's happening in the world of energy, and I a little bit forgot where I was going with that, but I thought the turbine thing was cool. But like, why would we not have this? Oh, I remember. Most of the time, though, where there's a huge amount of wind, they have to turn they can't run their turbines because there's no good consumer of that power. And so I was sitting there thinking, like, that's the weirdest thing of all time, because you could just mine Bitcoin or insert other coin here, or you could do like GPU mining, cloud mining, where like we have all this depend stuff where essentially you could rent out. Like, why are we not doing stuff like this? Why are not the energy people and the crypto people, why are we not linking arms? Because that seems like just an obvious way to monetize excess power, to then justify building out more power, and maybe just throwing monetization at the problem will help us speed run those issues. I don't know. I'm just gonna
Yeah,
stop talking now.
no, I think that was all like interesting ideas. And like, I think one of the reasons that like jumped out to me while you're explaining it is the fact that crypto's been so unregulated for so long. So you think about the fact that like crypto, most Wild West unregulated business, energy, especially nuclear, the most regulated business. So the hope would be now that, the regulations have come out and crypto's coming out of the dark ages, so to speak, that there would be opportunities for that. I think Lynn Alden has like an entire section of her Broken Money book, which I really highly recommend to anybody in our space or anyone who wants to, learn more about how the financial world works. But she also has a huge section talking about how there's isolated pockets of energy all over the world, rivers, areas that you could do nuclear, geothermal that just don't have anything around it. And exactly to your point, you can use that to be able to harness sort of that power to mine Bitcoin and then take that to other places. Um, Jared, do you have anything else to add on that topic before we take a little swing over to vibe coding? Because I want to make sure we get that in.
Yes, we do need to do that. Shout out to Together New Orleans and Broad Baggart for this a really good article about what happened on Memorial Day and why there was a brownout here in Louisiana. And it has to do with our transmission lines and how the wholesale electrical price was $2,000 per megawatt hour here in Louisiana. And in Mississippi, right next door, it was negative 187. And we have a setup where our transmission lines could not get the power to where it was needed and why we were so much more expensive. But it's a really fascinating article. If you're interested, look it up. Again, shout out Broad and Together New Orleans. It's a really good article about exactly what happened and what our issues are with the local grid, and which leads to larger issues across the whole country. But that has a lot to do with that. And I think, Ben, what you're talking about is like, let's start working on that, guys. Like, let's stop fighting about all this bullshit and let's fix some things that really need to be fixed. But yeah, let's move into vibe coding. I'm ready.
Do we anybody have any last things to talk about when it comes to Elon, Trump, power, general state of that? Going once. Going twice.
Bring on the bodacious vibe
Sold.
coding, my friend.
Yes, it's
Okay.
We're all interested in that.
Okay, so I've been seeing a lot of shit about vibe coding, and I get like spammed with YouTube videos all the time of like, I made $80 trillion a second with vibe coding, and I didn't know how to do anything, and I'm 14, and I am already the king of Uzbekistan because of this. So I was like, all right, kings of Uzbekistan, I guess I will finally listen to you, and let's jump in. So I was playing around with all the different tools. They're kind of tough. It's kind of difficult to like break in. Um, so I was like, how can I just make this as easy as humanly possible to just use minimal tools, build a teeny tiny thing, and just finally learn how to code? Because I've like taken multiple shots at it, and in my head I was like, yeah, I should learn how to code. That'll be good for skill set and all that. And then like, I would go on Udemy or something or Coursera or watch a YouTube video. And I was always like, yeah, but this kind of fucking sucks. So I don't really want to do this anymore. And so I would stop. And so it's like, okay, AI is at a point where there's got to be a fucking way. And fortunately for those folks who, in this particular regard, are just as lazy as me and just want to type in normal language and have things fucking spawn that do the things you want to do, now you can actually do it. And so I figured it out. The easiest way to do it, I believe, is using ChatGPT's new feature called Codex. Now, Codex is supremely fucking tight. It is an AI coding agent. And all you have to do is integrate it with your GitHub. And GitHub is where you store the code. Codex is what builds the code. And with those two things, the world is your oyster. Now you may say, I don't want to go set up all the accounts and blah, 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 or it costs $200 a month to blah, 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 blah. And my rebuttal to that very well articulated argument is don't get fucking left behind by the people who learn how to use AI better than you, because you will get your ass kicked. I don't care what you do. You should definitely be using AI. So
are you implying that you need Pro for the Codex feature?
Either Pro, or if you get a business account, I think Plus. But anyways, there are other things that you could do that are similar to this. Like you could use Copilot. I'm sure you could use other stuff. But just the version that I figured out was GPT Pro. And you should also check out Operator. They have a browser within Operator, and it could do stuff for you. So if you do a lot of like partnerships and outreach, you could tell Operator, hey, I'm looking for XYZ type of folks to reach out to. Build me a list, and it will go off into the ether. It will spawn a browser, and it will do the research, write it down, and then you could have it reach out on your behalf. And you just have to sit there and be like, confirm or yes. And it'll go do it. And then you could do other stuff while it's doing that. And then you could also code over here on your other monitor. So you can be a fucking one-man army to do all the shit you need to. Okay. Anyways, let's get back to Codex. So here's how you do it. You just go into GitHub and you click new repository and you name it. And then you add a README file, which there's a button to do. And just there, like, you're done. Okay. Because then you just go over to Codex and you integrate it, which is like 2 clicks, and then you're there. And then what I would suggest is asking normal chat GPT, oh, but you could use Codex. You could say to it, I want to build this. And then you just click code and then you just let it fly. Okay. And it'll go and it'll say a bunch of, like, it'll have like a log and it'll have a bunch of shit on it. And like, you won't have any idea what the fuck's going on, but that's fine. You don't need to because we're vibe coding. Okay. And then after a few minutes, it will say, like, ah, there's here's all this code that I spit out for you, and here are all the things, and this is why. And then all you have to do is click create pull request, which will send it to GitHub, and then view pull request, and it'll pop up GitHub, and then you'll just click merge, and then boom, it's live.
And then
That's
where
it
is it live?
on
Like, how do you
GitHub.
play it? So you can play it
GitHub.
in GitHub. There's some sort of like launcher in there or something, or player.
So GitHub has GitHub pages. All you have to do is go into settings, go to pages, and then select main as the branch and click save. And that's it. That's literally it. I forgot the pages part. You're right. And so it will build everything for you. And so then all you have to do is jump back and forth between, and maybe have it side by side, but you'll have whatever you're working on, and then you'll have Codex. And you'll put stuff into Codex. It'll spit it over to GitHub. It'll automatically push it live on your page. You go to your page, you refresh, you see the changes, and then you go back to Codex and say, okay, now this is what I want to change. And you go back and you do this. Okay. So you get into that little flow. It's super easy. It takes you like 10 minutes to set up this whole thing once, and then you're just off to the races. And then you go just again and again and again and figure this stuff out and like just build it in real time, right? So it can help you get from 0 to, maybe took like 2 hours of clicking and typing, but I was literally able to build an entirely workable game. So I don't know if you guys want
What?
to see it, but
Yeah, definitely. Let me give you the host settings.
yeah.
Now a word from our sponsors.
What's up, crypto gamers? Shout out to our sponsor, Myria. Myria is revolutionizing Ethereum-based gaming with its powerful L2 scaling solution. Think zero gas fees, instant transactions, free NFT minting, and more. Myria offers a suite of tools that are tailor-built for game development, including game-specific SDKs, a spec'd-out marketplace, Web3 spiked leaderboards, new AI super tools, and more. All this fueled by a fleet of player-run nodes that are a breeze to operate and pump out daily rewards for supporting the ecosystem. Plus, check out Meta Rush, the Battle Royale obstacle runner by Myria Studios, dropping very, very soon.
Now back to your regularly scheduled program.
Let's go to desktop 4 and we can take a peek at Snick. Now, obviously I got very with my naming. Can you guys see this?
Yes.
Okay.
Honestly, I
So-
think the naming is one of the best parts. Snack made me
It's-
laugh.
It's my favorite part, right? But like you can pause, you can start, and like you're the little green dot. You're just going around. You can spacebar to speed up. Like it's, it's legit fun. Like you kill shit. All of the other Snicks that are your enemies are powered by AI. So they can kind of fuck you up really good, right? But like it adds the leaderboard. You can clear, you can change your theme. And like all of this was just back and forthing with Codex, right?
Wow.
Then the next one is
Tatis.
Okay. Obviously, we are very, very creative in our naming, but you can just start and you can play. And there's even this little terminal here to tell you what you're doing. And like you can store your things and you can play. And then if you die, It'll add to the leaderboard, you know, so on and so forth. So all this stuff is created with like obviously it's very minimal and like,
Yeah.
super, minimus, de minimis or whatever. But like that's all it takes. It's just you hacking away in Codex with your normal words. And literally that's it. Okay. So then the latest one is Dungeon Crawl.
Whoa.
This is a very early stage, but like, you die. I don't even have a restart button yet. But like you can shoot stuff. You notice how it changed? So I didn't refresh it. So it just went from blocks to like little people looking thing. You can like shoot your arrows and whatnot, swing your sword. Your sword is the little thing, right?
Square.
So yeah, so obviously this is absolutely complete garbage right now, but how how many people could get it to this point before? I certainly couldn't. Before AI, there was zero chance I could get to this point at all, right? So like what does it look like? So in Codex, you would go here and you have this. So you set up your thing, you have Dungeon Crawl and you're like, make it so you can say make it suck less and you click code, right? So you can go in here and like now it's going and it's like working on the shit for you. So it'll
Wow.
start up your container. It'll set up your environment. It has internet access within that environment and has agents like going and setting shit up for you. So like it'll take a second, but it like goes and it downloads your shit from GitHub. So it goes and figures out, okay, this is on GitHub, blah, blah, blah. And I need to go grab all that code. And then it downloads it and it starts configuring shit for you. Like you don't have to know anything about anything because it knows and you don't have to know. But look at this. There's 0% chance I would have known how to do fucking any of this stuff. 0%
Have you
chance.
have you experimented
Wow.
at all with like giving like imagery? Like maybe what you're working on right now, could you take like a citizen or like the super logo or like whatever like from Web3 and just like drop it in here or even just like whatever. Yeah, a picture of like you and Bridget going on an adventure.
Yeah, so I have no idea. Right now I think it's mostly text based, but if you put the files in GitHub and then you allow Codex to reference those files, or you tell it like,
Mm.
I just uploaded this into GitHub, make it easy for me to reference or use that to go do blah 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 blah, like maybe that's how you could do it. So there's ways to do anything nowadays because everything could be boiled down to text based and you can feed it stuff from the internet, so we could go do whatever it is you want. But if you notice, my hands are up here. I'm not typing this. This is all happening automatically. It's automated to us. We're literally watching it in real time figure shit out. And we didn't have to do anything. And so then it pops this up. And this is all the new stuff that it is now suggesting that we do. And I don't know how to proofread this, fuck if I know. So I'm just like, yeah, we will create this pull request. We will go view the pull request. And assuming there's no errors, which there often are, and if there are errors, you just ask it to fix it, right? But you go in here and it's like, blah, blah, blah. I don't read any of this because I don't know what the fuck it means. And so then you just click merge pull request, confirm merge, and then it's done. You know what I mean? And when I said like the pages, how easy is that? You go to settings, you go to pages, and you say it'll say deploy from a branch normally, and it'll go from nothing to main, and you just put it to main, and then you might have to click save, but like that's it. And so then this is done. So you go back, and it'll say, merge, and then you'll say make it suck less again. And so it'll then keep working on it. And then we go to Dungeon Crawl. It'll take a little bit of time. But now there's two little things. So it added a little bit
Mm.
more, so like you can see the change. It changes over time. And it says like the number of arrows. So you could see in real time. So, anyways, I know I'm just kind of going on about this random game now,
Wow.
Dungeon Crawl. And like
Amazing.
there's zero monetization in there. It will probably never be. So I'm not going to agree with that. But I just wanted to show like this is where the fucking technology has gotten to. And I would highly encourage literally everybody listening and watching to this to go and play around with this because it's easy to do and it will blow your fucking mind about what's possible. And finally, we are at the stage where human beings can build shit on the internet without having to know how to code at all. We have to know zero how to code. And we're here.
Dude,
We've reached the promised land.
it's so epic. It's so exciting. Like the fact that you can vibe code video games now, like it's starting basic, but it's just going to advance and advance. And I thought because we've got the best editor in the world, LeBoomington, we could also show what's possible in the animation space. And I was gonna send that to you, Ben, but I will now screen share and show.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, here we go.
We love a good screen share.
Okay, is that coming through right?
Yeah.
The
Yes.
full screen or the just the little image?
It's the little
Uh,
image.
we see full screen, including browser, tabs, and T vision. So I
Okay.
would make it big if you could.
Yeah, let me see if I can do that real quick. LeBoomington, have mercy on me and edit out anything incriminating. And by incriminating, I just mean any of my work. Okay, let's see here.
So
Oh,
what's the
boom.
incentive to learn how to code anymore?
Is
What
there
is the
one now?
incentive?
Yeah, I'm just
All
asking. I
right.
don't know.
Do we have the full one?
Yes. Now it is
Let's
full.
Yeah.
go.
Amazing.
That's so funny. Dunking on grannies.
So good.
This is so funny.
The little Cardano at the end of the
Cardano.
song
That's
kills
beautiful.
me. Let me see.
That's
How do
so
I?
good. That's so good. All right, we're back.
Wow.
And that
Yeah,
was
I don't know if
all
there's an
AI
incentive to
question
code.
mark? That was all AI? Or
Sorry, it was continuing to play in my headphones, so I could not think while listening to the Cardano.
who
I
can?
do. I'm pretty sure that's all AI. So all an AI
Wow.
animation. LeBoomington will have to correct us. He's actually going to be on the next episode, so we'll be able to ask straight from him. But I thought it would be cool. That was his submission for like Becker's little like anime for part of the meme allocation. But dude, it just shows like how far that those tools are coming. And we were just getting all high on Studio Ghibli, just making images for us. So I'm just imagining, you just gave us the rundown on your vibe coding. Like, what's that going to be in 6 weeks? I feel like you're going to be pulling up like a Doom looking game. And then at the end of the year, you're going to be like, oh, I actually just built an entire Legend of Zelda featuring the three hosts of Interlinked.
Look,
Yeah.
and you nailed it. You said 6 weeks. That's exactly right. Like this is learning at just such an insane pace that in a year, like, dude, it's not a year. It's like weeks. Like, what is it like in weeks? I mean, we've gone from pictures to videos to full anime. I mean, it's absolutely astounding how fast it's learning.
Well, the cool thing too is, in my mind, it's like, how do we put these things together? Like, how do you go from a badass cutscene or like a little anime that you build with AI and then fuse that into a video game and then, you know, blah, blah, blah. And like, how hard is that? It's definitely doable, but it's like, how hard is that actually? Because what would be like omnipotent level tight, god tier level of tightness for the user, us trying to make shit with AI is say like, all right, I want to build a whole universe and I want a video game and I want an anime and I want a book and I want blah 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 and go create that. Like, have you guys been using deep research?
No.
Yes.
Okay. Well, for those of us who said no, you need to immediately use deep research. And
Damn
for
it,
those of
Jared.
us
I'm sorry. I'm
And for-
busy. What do you want me to say?
and so basically you put it in You put in a prompt, it asks some clarifying questions, and then it just goes off into the ether and like for 10 minutes go basically the same shit you saw for coding. It does that like with words and like builds you like a report or whatever, get you to answer. And so what would be tight would be like that level to go build out the storyline and the lore. And then it, you send it to one and then it pops out. It's like a deep research for the lore, a codex for the game, a whatever they call it for the anime, and then whatever they call it for like all the thumbnails and the different like graphics and all the stuff. And then they kind of like it all merges together into one cohesive like thing. You know what I mean? Like how far away are we from that? It's probably doable today. It just takes a lot of like humans in the loop to do that. But like that'll be so fucking cool. And then at what point could you say, okay, now make it multiplayer and let other people come play with me? And then from there, okay, now add in an in-game currency. And then from there, okay, now make that a real currency. Like a now, launch that on chain. And then like, all of our minds can jump from there. But like that becomes very fucking cool very fucking quickly. And it's just then
And
the imagination and persistence of the person.
And as a bit of a tease, I was just talking to a project that you've talked to as well that is doing just that and did it live on the chat, showing how it can like loop in like tokens. So that's going to be pretty exciting to see coming down the line. I think it's still very basic games. But gentlemen, I got to run to dinner. I love you both. I will
Love
let
you,
you
brother.
guys,
Love you,
LeBoomington,
man.
feel free to cut this portion out or I leave it to your editing wizardry, but I'll let you guys ramble on. I'll catch you guys in a bit.
Later.
LeBoomington, just make sure that you edit Nick to say that he loves me more, and then you can keep it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. All love each other. Cool.
Everyone love everybody.
That's right. That's right. Um,
I didn't do deep
there.
research, but what I did do, Ben, is have a 45-minute conversation while driving from Mandeville, Covington area to my office about deep thoughts into the Sixth Amendment of the Constitution. And it was a conversation back and forth. I don't know if ChatGPT learned anything, but I did. And I thought it was awesome. It was a back and forth. You put on the
voice.
voice, plugged it
Yes.
in to my car, and I was just talking. And we talked about random things, and it was like an actual conversation. And it was extremely helpful to sort of allow me to just dump everything I was thinking about certain cases,
Yes.
and allowed me to hone in on what I wanted to do to, like to think about and win those cases. And it was super incredible. And the vast array of the knowledge was just, I mean, you're talking to like, the Supreme Court professor of professors who understands
Yes.
everything. And it was incredible. And I've also had conversations about like, hey, I've got an issue, like a personal issue, like help me through it. And it does. It's like a therapist too. It is
It's
sort of
magical.
all things. It really is magical.
Dude, the voice mode, I have been telling a lot of people, um, like to use voice mode and just use the shit out of it. And like exactly what you're saying of you can talk it out, you can think through stuff with it. You can be like, this is what I'm thinking. Stress test this. And it'll come back like with ideas and blah blah blah. And
Mm-hmm.
you can be like, all right, summarize this stuff. And then it'll put it in a document so that I can share it with the next person or whatever, whatever. But like it is unbelievably useful, just like you're saying. It's a complete game changer. Like I'm at the point where I heard this interview with or part of an interview with Sam Altman, and regardless of what you think about the person, regardless of politics, blah 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 blah, fuck all that. What he said was the question was who's using ChatGPT the best, and he said the ones who are the using it. He's like there are three categories of people. The old people just use it to replace Google for searches. The like middle-aged people, young professionals, they use that as like a coach. He said, but the kids who are, they're seeing through walls, they use it as their personal operating system. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
that's such an interesting way to think about that. And so I've been trying to become like completely AI native. And I will tell you, in the beginning, it feels a little bit like frustrating and there's a little bit of a learning curve. And it doesn't feel like a learning curve. It just feels like friction or that it's not where you want it to be. But just keep at it for a little while and just like play around with all the stuff and just like really like dive into it and commit to using it. And I don't care which one. I just happen to pick ChatGPT just because it was the easiest for me to use. But like the more AI native, it is transformative. I mean, it is completely and totally transformative to the point where I c- I would be willing to bet just about anybody that's listening to this. If you're a developer, guaranteed you can 10x your productivity. If you're a partnership guy or BD guy, guaranteed you can 10x your effectiveness. Like talk through your strategy of like, hey, I'm thinking to reach out. I want to reach out to this person or this type of person. What should I say? Well, do it in the style of, if I was, you're Steve Jobs and you're coaching me how to be as effective as you at sales. Teach me how to do that. And then it'll like you can talk it through. And then, you just go back and forth and like you figure it out. It is so powerful. It's game changing. I mean, and it's like that today.
Yeah. Yeah. It replaces sales training. It replaces really sort of any training, which is quite unbelievable. To me, it really replaces sort of having a mentor in whatever you're at and just ask it. It knows the answer. And
Yes.
the cool thing about it is it goes sort of not just to the answer, but it gives you sort of everything around it, even things that you may not have thought about. And that gives you ideas and you have tangents. But then you come back with this sort of just holistic understanding of that entire subject matter that you didn't have before, just because when's the last time you talked about the Sixth Amendment for 45 minutes with somebody who knew everything about it?
Never.
Not that often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things I've been doing, dude, you got to get on deep research. It's fucking
Okay.
crazy.
I will.
So one of the things I've been doing is I have been picking things that I want to learn about and I will do a deep research and tell it to build me a comprehensive report. And then I will take that. You know what? Let me share my screen. Hold on. I got to show you guys this. I got to show you guys this in real time. This is actually completely fucking nuts. So let me share my screen again.
And I just do this inside of the app.
Can you see? I'm going to show you. Can you see my chat GPT?
I do.
Okay. So you click this little deep research button. Is it still
Got it.
showing?
Mm-hmm.
Still showing? Okay. Click this little deep research button and you change it to O3. You want to use advanced
Okay.
reasoning for this kind of stuff. So
Sure.
let's say I want a comprehensive guide to what's something that's kind of difficult to learn, but is extremely, extremely effective once you learn it.
Ooh, that's a good question.
Like what usually takes people like 5 to 10 years to get super good at.
Wow. I would say voir dire. VOIRDIRE. It's probably
Like
the
that.
one thing that's correct. Yeah.
Okay. You are the greatest um, expert and instructor in this realm of knowledge. And you explain things in a way that I understand it immediately.
Okay. Now, voir dire is when you have a jury trial and you actually go ahead and ask questions of the jury ahead of time. And I thought about it for a second. The reason I picked this is because this is a really human endeavor. This is not an AI endeavor. And I'm curious as to how it would kind of go through that because you're connecting with other people, you're persuading the jury while you're picking
Wait.
them.
Let's answer these questions because it
Okay.
has some follow ups, and then explain what you're
Okay.
about to
So let's
explain
say
because this
you're the
needs to work.
attorney. You're the
Mhm.
whatever plaintiff, defense. Just pick one. Defense attorney is probably great. That means you would go second.
So let's say give both plaintiff
Plaintiff and
and
defendant. Perfect.
defendant
And I
some
would say
perspective.
I am using this to prepare for a specific case, whatever, pick a cool case, like a car accident. It's probably a good, a good one for this, right?
Car accident case specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. General overview or jurisdiction specific?
Jurisdiction specific. Let's go Louisiana. Why not? Because that's where we are. And then
Louisiana,
state court.
state court, court.
Mhm.
Any particular
Oh,
other
go to Orleans. That's going to be really interesting. Orleans Parish.
parish?
Yep.
Okay.
And then I would
So,
say all of those things. You want a practical framework, sample questions, and the psychology of the jury. All that's important, but those two are really important.
maybe lethal.
Yes.
Okay. Civil or
This is
criminal?
this is going to be a I don't know what if it's plaintiff and defendant, we're going to do civil trial,
Civil.
car accident.
Civil car accident.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is so specific and awesome. Okay,
Yeah,
so let's
this is
prompt it.
really specific. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So now it's going to begin its research. Okay. We'll have to come back with it. But
Yeah.
just to show you, boom, it's thinking. It's going to detail the activity that it's going through and its thought process. Oh, wait. Let me share. So I opened up a new tab. Let me share a different tab because
And this is going to be, I think, one of the most important parts of a trial, and what I think really differentiates a really good trial lawyer from like an amazing trial lawyer from just an average or a really good trial lawyer is this specific part. It's the first time the jury walks in, it's when you pick them, you sort of lay the groundwork for your case. You're almost arguing the case through questions, and you're letting you're prompting the jury to ask and answer questions, and then it'll bring up another question for another juror, and that's sort of building your case through question. It's really a fascinating process, and I really do think this is what differentiates, an amazing trial lawyer from a less amazing trial lawyer. All the other aspects of trial are obviously important, but this is the like the golden nugget.
okay, now you're seeing how it's thinking about it. You're seeing
Mm-hmm.
the sources it's referencing. And so basically, it's going to now give you a crash course. Actually, we asked it for comprehensive. So it's going to give you a
Yeah.
comprehensive thing. But like, it's looking into specific, like, what is Riddle v. Bickford voir dire backstriking? Like, that's
Wow,
crazy.
that is a really
What a deep
specific.
pull, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna say that is wow.
Isn't
That's
that
what I'll say
nuts?
to that. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
so I've been using this. Oh, it's zeroing in. Seems like a
Mm-hmm.
good starting point. All of this was a starting point, right? So
Right.
again, I don't give a shit
Wow.
what type of AI model you use. I don't care where you get it from, but like go get your deep research on at everyone. So what I've been doing is I've been picking topics that I want to learn. And then I'm going into deep research and I'm saying, build me a comprehensive report on blah, blah, blah. So, like, I was really interested in the East India trading companies. And turns
Hmm.
out there were two of them. There was the British East India Trading Company and there was the Dutch East India Trading Company. And they were different. And they had very, very big implications for, you know, the world today. And a lot of India today is based off of what went down back then. Uh, but asked a deep research to like teach me about these things. And so it built this whole comprehensive report. And then I took that report and I copied it and pasted it into a doc and I saved that as a PDF and I opened up a new chat, so fresh context window. I uploaded that PDF back to ChatGPT. It indexed it and then I got onto voice mode and I went for a walk and I asked it to teach me that report. And for the
Wow.
next like 2 to 3 hours, it taught me everything that I was curious about knowing about the East India trading companies. Okay. We're talking about timelines. We're talking about like governance structure, capital formation, how they establish trading posts, what the pros and cons of their approaches were, comparing and contrasting them to each other, like all the different things. And then if you feed it context on your particular project, you can then say, okay, generalize these principles and apply them to what I'm working on. And now you got to make sure that it has all of the information that you're
Mm-hmm.
working on. So you would say, like, For example, we're building the greatest crypto gaming community of all time. And our leaders are XYZ. And our structure is blah, blah, blah. And this is how we do that. And these are the links to that. And this is what the logo looks like for that. And blah, blah, blah. So you got to give it some context, right? But then you're like, okay, now go back and add parallels to this. And then it'll tell you. And then you can be like, oh, what about this? Or what about that? And it'll say, oh, great point. Maybe you could do that or the other thing. So you can have hyper specific information applied, like learnings on one side and then applications to what you're working on. And it's just ridiculously helpful and specific to you and your use case, right? So like I've been going and I've just been building these deep researches, and it takes you like 2 minutes to prompt it and ask all the questions and then it's off. But I'm like, oh my God. So I've been doing like, give me a comprehensive overview of the rise and fall of every empire known to man since the beginning of mankind. So that's a 100-page report that I'm very excited to dig into this weekend. For example, we film on Fridays at everyone who's listening, and you're hearing on Tuesday, but we film on Friday. And so, like, then you can go empire by empire and drill down even more, and then you draw the principles from it. And then, so it's just ridiculous. I know I'm rambling at this point, but I can't stress enough how critical being native to this sort of technology is for everybody that's listening. It's ridiculous, actually.
All right, I think I know what, obviously, other than using this for work, what I would do. I used to be a scuba diving instructor, and coolly enough, my oldest son was like, I want to get certified. And I was like, awesome. So we went, shout out to Harry's Dive Shop here in Metairie. I used to work at Harry's Dive Shop, and I worked on their boat. And it's really funny, actually. The instructor, and I got certified when I was 14. My son's 13, getting certified, and I used to
Didn't
work
you
in
save some lives back then too?
I was a rescue diver. I did, rescue a few people over my time.
Let's go.
And funny enough, like the instructor that we had was, he was, much older, but my instructor number was earlier than his. I didn't tell him my instructor number, but I looked at it and I was like, oh, because I dove since I was a young kid, and became an instructor relatively early. But I haven't gone diving in like a super long time.
Mm-hmm.
And just that fascination and spending all the time with him doing that was amazing. What I've always wanted to do is go cave diving. I've gone like kind of cave diving once in Tulum. I'm not certified. I probably shouldn't have done it, but it was the most amazing thing I've ever done. But I really wanted to sort of do deep research into that. And it fascinates me about all the partial pressures of all the breathing gases. And, the fact that there's this dive where these guys were so deep, they had to breathe only hydrogen, 99% hydrogen and 1% oxygen, because oxygen is toxic if the partial pressure is above 1.6. For all you diving nerds, you may know that. So essentially, if you breathe pure oxygen below 20 feet, you can die very easily.
That's nuts. So
yeah.
I would deep research the shit out of that.
100%.
And I would tell
amazing.
it, this is what I'm trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
Give me all the facts about this so I'm prepared. And then give me recommendations for where to go, where to stay, what to buy, and which flights to take, and figure all of that out for me, because you are a world-class travel coordinator. You're a world-class cave diver, and you're incredible at everything in life. So, and it'll do it for you. I mean, it's ridiculous.
That's amazing. Watching YouTube videos on it for me. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, and then it can like tell you in voice when you're doing other shit. So you can get your workout on or whatever and like still consume the information. The problem I'm running into now is there's so much shit I want to do and there's so much shit I want to learn at the same time because there's so much there. And I'm like, oh my God, there's literally not enough time in life to accomplish all the things. And it is now blatantly obvious, even more so than before. It is so blatantly obvious. Like, there's just so much. It's ridiculous. Anyways, I know I'm going on a random tangent and rant about AI, but like
Amazing.
it's
I
gonna
need to do,
change
I
it.
need to get your chat GPT log on the voir dire now. I'm curious. I guess I'll have to do the same thing in my own deep research. I'm going to
Yeah,
build it.
I'll send it to you. It's still working.
Amazing.
It's still doing the
Amazing.
thing. Yeah. It's up to 22 sources now. So it's
Wow.
becoming an expert in this, which is sick.
Wow. Yeah. Amazing.
Cool. All right. Any other last parting words of wisdom for us on the pod here?
I bought a Switch 2 and it's a hell of a lot of fun.
Oh, little video game alpha for us.
I say that I actually haven't physically played it, although I've watched both of my children play it for hours
Okay.
because they
There's something
sold
there.
out of special controllers. So I only have the one that it came with, which is actually two, and they can
Mm-hmm.
play together. And I've just, as a cool dad, I'm like, y'all play, I'll just watch. And I'm literally watching them play. And it's awesome. They've unlocked the Rainbow Road in Mario Kart. They're doing Breath of the Wild with a new update on the Switch 2 version. They played Super Smash Bros. All the things. It's
The
great.
classics.
Yeah.
Dude, I feel like there's a level you get to where you got so many things, you have so many things to do. It is actually more fun to be able to watch other people play so you can vicariously be a part of it without having to devote all of the time and energy to playing yourself. As silly as that might sound. If you don't
Absolutely.
have to devote that, but you could just be there and experience that, have the fun with them while they're doing it, but you still get your stuff done over here. It's kind of like a little bit of a hack, TBH.
Oh, it totally is. Because look, when I come home today, they'll be three-quarters of the way through of the Breath of the Wild, so I can find all the horses that they got and all the different, ancient runes that they found and all the different cool stuff. And then I skip all the work that they've done today, and I get to see the
Boom.
reward later, and we'll see the ending probably this weekend because they've been playing it nonstop. So yeah, it's 100%.
So fun. Cool. You're the man. To everybody who's watching and listening, don't worry at everyone. Things are going to work out. They always do. People always get, super worried about all the doomer and gloomerism and all that kind of stuff. But like, you have a place to sleep, most likely. You have food to eat, and you have water to drink, and you have air to breathe. And if you're consuming a podcast, you have electricity and you have a device, which means you are ahead of 80% of the world out there. There are still people who are destitute without electricity in this world. So, deep breaths, scope out. We fucking got this. And that's all I got for you guys today.
What an episode.